Hey, what's up? This is Sam, and today we're going to be talking about morphology. Morphology, at its core, studies the structures and rules by which words are formed. How words are formed? Now, Sam, isn't a word the smallest unit in a language by which one can convey meaning? How could it be broken down further? Well, inquisitive listener, I'll have you know there is one unit even smaller than a word. It's what linguists call a morpheme. For example, when you see the letters UN at the beginning of a word, you immediately infer this word means the opposite of the word without the UN, despite UN not being a word in of itself. Thus, there must be subunit able to convey meaning smaller than a word. And that's where morphemes come in. There are many different examples of morphemes, so linguists use four different categories to categorize them. First, a morpheme is either open or closed. Open class morphemes are sounds that denote content or denote a specific idea or object. They're called open class morphemes because we frequently add new ones to our vocabulary. For example, Facebook and Google have become so prevalent in our speech that they are now their own morphemes because they denote some specific idea. Closed class morphemes are sounds that serve a functional purpose. This generally includes conjunctions, articles, prepositions, and pronouns. For example, he, she, they, it, and, etc. are all closed class morphemes. They're a closed class because it's hard to think of new morphemes in this class that we could add to our vocabulary. Thus, the class is closed. Second, a morpheme is either bound or free. Bound morphemes are words that cannot be words by themselves. For example, ish denotes something is sort of like something, giving a sound a meaning, but is not a word by itself. Similarly, li denotes an adverb, but cannot be an adverb by itself. On the other hand, free morphemes are words without anything else attached. For example, you can have a cat, or you can behave in a cat-like manner with cat-ish features. Third, a morpheme is either a root or an affix. Root morphemes are the morphemes to which you attach affixes. For example, you can be happy, or if you dance happily, you can attach the illy to the root of happy. Other roots include jump, theory, game, gentle. Affixes include s, re, and li. Note: bound root morphemes will not occur. However, because of language evolution, there are morphemes like sieve and knit, which are root morphemes, but they lack meaning alone. Finally, a morpheme is either derivational or inflectional. A derivational morpheme changes the meaning of a word. In linguistics, the way we denote changing meaning typically involves altering the grammatical classification of a word, which is just fancy speak for when a noun becomes a verb becomes an adjective, etc. Examples of derivational morphemes include illy, which changes an adjective to an adverb, nis, which changes an adjective to a noun, etc. An inflectional morpheme, however, is simply a morpheme that is required to be added due to the grammatical rules of a language. It does not actually affect the category of a word, although it may alter the plurality of noun or the tense of a verb. For example, s and ed are both inflectional morphemes that you add on the end of the words when a language requires it. To review, there's four classes. A morpheme is either open or closed, bound or free, root or an affix, derivational or inflectional. Now, what do we do with all this knowledge? We use it to graph and draw diagrams. First, to draw a diagram of a word, break the word into morphemes. For example, take the word unknowingly. Unknowingly has how many morphemes? Well, like we talked about earlier, is a morpheme that denotes the opposite. Know, you can know something, to have knowledge is a morpheme. Ing, we talked about, it can change a noun to a verb. And li changes a noun to an adverb. So we have four morphemes. Now, we have to find the root. Luckily, we only have one morpheme that is a standalone morpheme, no, so it is likely to be the root. We then put the root at the bottom and label its class. It's a verb because to know something is the root of to know something is an action that one can take. We then will find the next morpheme. Now, to make a coherent diagram, we want to think about what you could add to still have a coherent meaning. For example, if we add un to know, is it a word to unknow? Not really. But if we add ing, knowing is a thing. So the next one we add is ing. We then add that to the graph and label its class. Now, you continue those steps using the remaining morphemes. The next one you can add is li, because whereas unknowing isn't really a thing, knowingly is an adverb. You keep doing that until you're done. Now you know all about morphology.